Prince Harry's Invictus game. You follow the royal family very, very closely. What's the latest there?
He's having a lot of issues.
In a shocking royal fallout, King Charles III has reportedly made a brutal decision that nobody expected, completely cutting Prince Harry and Meghan Markle off from Sandringham. No quiet talks, no soft warning behind closed doors, just a cold move that's now shaking royal insiders to the core. Some people close to the palace say this has been building for years, while others think this is proof the family drama has finally hit a breaking point. One thing is obvious now. This is way bigger than another royal disagreement. This feels like the moment everything truly changed. The whispers coming out of palace circles are getting louder by the day. Royal commentator Paula Froelich claimed that a major behind-the-scenes decision has quietly been made. According to insiders, King Charles has stepped away from any idea of inviting Harry and Meghan to Sandringham this summer. And insiders say the tension exploded after their controversial Australia visit. But here's where things get messy. Was there ever even a real invitation waiting for them? Or was this entire situation turned into something public before it ever became private? Because royal watchers noticed something very interesting about how this story suddenly appeared. There wasn't some heartfelt father and son conversation happening behind palace walls. Instead, the message went straight to the media. Harry reportedly mentioned publicly that he and Meghan would be happy to visit Sandringham, almost like he was casually throwing the idea out there. On the surface, it sounded harmless and friendly. But many people inside royal circles allegedly saw something very different behind the scenes. Because being invited onto royal property as official guests of the monarch doesn't just mean family bonding. It also comes with royal-level security funded by the state. And that security issue has reportedly become one of the biggest stress points in Harry's world right now. Private protection costs serious money, the kind of money that can drain millions fast. So suddenly, that public comment about Sandringham started looking a lot more strategic to critics watching the situation unfold. Some insiders allegedly questioned whether this was really about reconnecting with family or reopening access to royal privileges tied to status and protection. Then things became even more emotional when the children were brought into the conversation. There were comments suggesting it would be special for the kids to spend time with their grandfather. To the public, that sounded sweet and personal. But inside palace circles, some reportedly viewed it very differently. They allegedly felt emotions were being pulled into a public discussion in a way that placed pressure on the king. Sources close to the royal camp reportedly believed this wasn't just a casual family request. They saw it as a calculated public move where rejecting the idea could make the palace appear cold-hearted. But this time, the strategy didn't seem to work the way many expected. The palace reportedly stayed firm and refused to budge. Behind closed doors, opinions about Harry are said to have hardened even more. Some insiders now allegedly describe him as someone who pushes situations further whenever he doesn't get the outcome he wants. And according to several reports, there's growing concern about emotional pressure becoming part of these royal disputes. Because once family emotions become tied to public negotiations, everything gets way more complicated. Now, the situation isn't only about one canceled trip anymore. It's about trust, motives, and the real reason the palace suddenly drew such a hard line. And according to insiders, the turning point may have been Australia. At first, the Australia visit looked like another polished celebrity-style tour. Cameras flashed everywhere, charity appearances were lined up, and photo opportunities rolled out non-stop. But underneath all the smiles, the backlash was quietly growing fast. And in a place like Australia, where support for the royal family has traditionally been strong, the mood shift became impossible to ignore. Reports claimed many locals no longer wanted Harry and Meghan returning for future visits. That kind of reaction doesn't happen overnight. To critics, it showed frustration had been building beneath the surface for a long time. While the trip looked glamorous online, many observers believed the deeper message was starting to damage their image. One major talking point came after Meghan appeared at an exclusive wellness retreat where attendees reportedly spent huge amounts of money to attend. Luxury accommodations, expensive experiences, and premium access reportedly surrounded the event. Meghan's appearance instantly became headline news. Now, nobody is saying public figures can't make money, but critics started questioning whether the lines between service, celebrity branding, and business opportunities were becoming too blurred. And that's where the controversy reportedly exploded even more. Only days earlier, Meghan had visited children dealing with serious illnesses during a hospital appearance. It should have been a touching and private moment focused entirely on the families involved. But shortly afterward, online posts reportedly began circulating details about her clothing and fashion choices, including shopping links showing viewers where to buy the same items. That immediately sparked backlash online. Critics argued the timing felt uncomfortable and poorly judged. Families were facing emotional medical situations, yet conversations online quickly shifted toward fashion and brand promotion. For many observers, the optics looked terrible. Then another issue pushed public frustration even higher: security costs. Reports claimed that despite Harry and Meghan no longer serving as working royals, taxpayer-funded expenses connected to the trip still became extremely expensive. That instantly triggered criticism from people questioning why public money was still involved if the couple were operating independently. The backlash didn't stay limited to Australia either. Across the United Kingdom, the United States, and other countries, conversations reportedly started shifting in a much harsher direction. Critics began questioning whether the couple's public influence was fading. What once looked like bold independence to supporters was now, for some people, starting to resemble non-stop overexposure. And what made this situation even more dramatic was how closely it echoed warnings from Queen Elizabeth II years earlier. The late Queen reportedly believed mixing royal duty with personal business opportunities would always create dangerous complications. According to many royal insiders, balancing both worlds required extreme caution and discipline. Now, some critics argue those warnings were ignored completely, and that decisions made over the last few years may have pushed the couple directly into moments like this. But right when the backlash already seemed overwhelming, another issue reportedly made things even worse. This time, the focus shifted directly onto Harry after comments he made began spreading rapidly online. And according to insiders, those remarks caused serious concern inside palace walls because they allegedly crossed into political territory in a way the royal family traditionally avoids at all costs. Reports suggest the atmosphere inside the palace changed fast after King Charles was briefed on everything happening. What started as frustration reportedly turned into something much more serious. Because once public image, taxpayer criticism, family tensions, and political controversy all collided together, insiders allegedly feared the damage could become impossible to contain. And if palace tensions were already boiling over before those remarks surfaced, what exactly was said that reportedly pushed everything to another level entirely? What reportedly started as frustration inside palace walls quickly turned into something much heavier, even discussed according to insiders. But the Australia backlash was only the beginning. Because while headlines were exploding over that trip, another situation was quietly building behind the scenes, and this one allegedly pushed royal tensions to an entirely different level. The timeline alone has people talking. Just 4 days separated two major events that, when placed side by side, suddenly created serious questions. On one side, King Charles III was preparing for a high-pressure state visit to Washington, D.C. Reports claimed the trip was so demanding that he had to temporarily pause parts of his cancer treatment schedule in order to handle royal duties. Then on the other side of the world, Prince Harry suddenly appeared in Ukraine. But this wasn't some quiet behind-the-scenes visit or low-key support appearance. This became a major public moment, complete with a speech that instantly grabbed attention. And according to reports, the speech allegedly touched on politically sensitive subjects while criticizing major figures connected to American leadership, including Donald Trump. Now think about the timing for a second. Just 4 days later, King Charles was expected to sit in diplomatic meetings involving some of the same powerful circles connected to those conversations. Inside royal circles, that overlap reportedly did not go unnoticed at all. In the royal world, timing matters almost as much as the message itself. Every appearance, every statement, every headline is usually measured carefully. That's why many observers immediately started asking the same question: was this simply terrible timing, or something more intentional? Because critics say when you step back and look at the pattern over the past few years, it becomes harder to ignore. Big interviews seem to land during sensitive royal periods. Emotional public statements appear during major palace events. And now this Ukraine speech arrived right before a critical royal trip. To many royal watchers, it no longer feels random. According to insiders, palace officials have reportedly discussed these concerns privately for years. There's said to be growing anxiety over the stress surrounding the king, especially while managing serious health issues. Prince William has reportedly been especially vocal about how emotional strain can directly impact recovery and treatment outcomes. Now imagine the pressure from the king's point of view. He's preparing for a major international visit while balancing medical treatment, global expectations, diplomatic responsibilities, and non-stop media scrutiny. Then suddenly, his own son delivers a highly publicized speech that could potentially complicate conversations before the trip even begins. Whether intentional or accidental, critics argue the result remains the same. More pressure added onto an already impossible situation. And this is where the contradiction reportedly becomes impossible for palace insiders to ignore. Publicly, Harry has spoken about reconciliation, family healing, and concerns about time running out. But according to critics, moments like this seem to create even more distance instead of repairing anything. But the situation reportedly becomes even more complicated once legal concerns enter the conversation. Because beyond the emotional fallout and palace tension, another issue quietly started gaining attention behind the scenes, one involving diplomatic boundaries and potential legal gray areas. In the United States, there's a law known as the Logan Act. The law was created to stop private individuals from interfering with official foreign policy matters or diplomatic negotiations reserved for government officials. Its entire purpose is protecting national diplomacy from outside influence. Now, Harry is not an American citizen, which already places discussions about the law into complicated territory. But critics argue the bigger issue isn't citizenship itself, it's perception. When a globally recognized figure with royal ties begins making public political statements connected to world conflicts and foreign leaders, people inevitably start asking questions, especially when those appearances happen in places as politically sensitive as Ukraine. Critics claim that even if no specific law was technically broken, the situation allegedly touched the broader spirit behind laws like the Logan Act, private figures stepping into political spaces where diplomacy becomes extremely delicate. And this is where another uncomfortable question reportedly started circulating behind palace walls. Would the Ukraine appearance have happened at all if the Australia trip had been viewed as a success? Because according to insiders, Australia was where the tone surrounding Harry and Meghan Markle truly changed. What was supposed to look like another polished international tour reportedly backfired badly. The staged appearances, charity moments, public smiles, and carefully managed visuals no longer landed the way they once did. Instead of rebuilding momentum, reports claimed public reaction became more negative afterward. Some insiders allegedly described internal polling and media analysis as deeply damaging. Rather than improving their image, critics argue the tour weakened it further. That's where analysts believe the pressure reportedly started building behind the scenes. Not just pressure from the public, but pressure to stay relevant, stay visible, and control the narrative surrounding their brand. According to some observers, the pattern appears consistent. When criticism rises, bigger appearances follow. When attention fades, louder headlines suddenly appear. And now Ukraine has become part of that conversation too. Critics continue questioning the timing, the visibility, and the global messaging surrounding the trip. But even more questions reportedly remain unanswered. Who funded the visit? What exactly was the official purpose? And did any resources connected to the Invictus Games help support aspects of the appearance? Critics continue raising these questions because, so far, clear explanations have reportedly remained limited. At the same time, another issue is quietly unfolding in the background: money. According to industry chatter, media structures around the couple have reportedly shifted dramatically. People connected to shaping their public image, including figures like Dan Wakeford, have changed roles, moved platforms, or stepped away from earlier media relationships altogether. And as those support systems reportedly change, fresh rumors about finances continue spreading fast. Some insiders now claim the widely discussed Netflix partnership may not have been worth as much as early headlines suggested. Others allege the Spotify deal failed to deliver the long-term value many expected. Meanwhile, ongoing expenses reportedly continue piling up. Massive security bills, non-stop legal fights, staff operations, and expensive lifestyle costs said to total tens of millions over time. Critics now openly question whether the financial pressure behind the scenes is becoming much worse than the public realizes. At the same time, several production projects reportedly slowed down or stalled completely. Industry insiders allegedly believe the couple's public image now affects investor confidence in unpredictable ways. Some projects reportedly gain attention because of their names attached to them, while others lose support for the exact same reason. And according to some sources, the relationship itself is now being viewed through a business lens by critics. They claim Harry still depends heavily on Meghan's management and media strategy, while Meghan continues benefiting from the royal connection tied to Harry's title. According to these claims, both sides still need the royal link to maintain influence and public interest, which leads directly to the massive question now hanging over the monarchy. What does King Charles do next? Because according to growing public opinion, simply shutting the Sandringham door may no longer be enough. Let's talk about the pressure building inside the monarchy, because according to many royal observers, the latest wave of drama didn't exactly feel new. A lot of people online admitted they've heard these same arguments for more than a year now. The same accusations, the same tension, the same non-stop back and forth being recycled across interviews, headlines, and social media clips. But this time, something felt different. It wasn't just the discussion itself, it was the tone behind it. The frustration surrounding Prince Harry and Meghan Markle has reportedly become much louder and far less filtered. Some critics now argue that parts of the media world stopped simply reporting on the royal drama a long time ago and instead started shaping narratives for clicks, attention, and business opportunities. Now that more independent voices are stepping into the conversation, the tone has become sharper, more direct, and way more uncomfortable for everyone involved. And across online platforms, one demand keeps showing up over and over again: remove the couple from official royal representation completely. Some critics want ceremonial titles removed. Others believe the monarchy should fully redefine Harry and Meghan's place inside the institution once and for all. And what many people don't realize is that historically, monarchs actually do hold power over certain royal styles and titles. Throughout history, royal structures have been changed, adjusted, and even stripped away through official decrees when the crown believed it was necessary. That's why many commentators argue the real issue now isn't whether King Charles III could make changes. It's whether he's willing to. Because technically, the monarchy could create a very clear line between private celebrity activity and official royal identity. That would mean publicly stating that certain individuals no longer represent the crown in any official capacity. And if that happened, it would reportedly change everything overnight. Every media project, every public appearance, every commercial partnership connected to Harry and Meghan would suddenly face a completely different level of scrutiny. Critics say the situation would stop being symbolic and become structural. That possibility alone has reportedly increased tensions even more behind palace walls. Some analysts believe a move like that could seriously damage private business ventures tied to royal branding. Others argue it would create a direct clash between modern celebrity culture and centuries-old royal tradition. Suddenly, the entire debate becomes about identity, influence, branding, and power all at the same time. Still, insiders claim nobody really knows whether King Charles will ever take action that drastic. Some believe he prefers calm restraint over open confrontation and wants to avoid escalating the family crisis even further. But critics argue that staying passive only allows the tension to grow bigger with every passing month. Behind palace doors, frustration reportedly continues building among senior figures who see a repeating pattern of controversy, public interviews, and headlines constantly dragging the monarchy back into chaos. Public speeches overseas, especially those touching on political topics, are viewed by some royal insiders as deeply sensitive. Others defend Harry by saying he's simply expressing personal beliefs rather than speaking for the institution. But no matter how people interpret it, one reality remains unchanged. Every new appearance, every interview, and every public comment adds more pressure onto an already fragile situation. And that brings the conversation to what may actually be the most explosive issue of all: security. Because according to multiple reports, the real battle behind the Sandringham fallout may not just be emotional. It may be deeply tied to ongoing disputes over protection, access, and legal responsibility inside the United Kingdom. At the center of the conflict is Harry's long-running legal fight over police security while visiting Britain. For years now, the issue has moved through courts and government systems, creating non-stop tension between Harry's team and UK authorities. Harry's argument has reportedly remained consistent. He believes returning to the UK without official protection creates serious personal safety risks due to his global profile and military background. But British authorities reportedly see the issue very differently. Their position is that Harry's royal status fundamentally changed once he stepped away as a senior working royal. Because of that, officials argue automatic taxpayer-funded security no longer applies in the same way. And this disagreement has created a huge deadlock that stretches far beyond simple family drama. Security isn't just about bodyguards or travel plans in royal life. It affects where visits can happen, how events are organized, who gets access to royal grounds, and how official logistics are managed. That's why some analysts believe the reported Sandringham exclusion may involve far deeper structural problems tied to protection arrangements, not just emotions or family tension alone. Because without certain security clearances and coordination, even organizing private royal visits reportedly becomes extremely complicated. Critics also point out that this fight exists at the intersection of several dangerous topics all at once: legal precedent, public funding, royal responsibility, and public opinion. If security protections are fully restored, critics question the cost and fairness to taxpayers. But if protections are denied, supporters argue it creates safety risks that could become politically damaging if anything ever went wrong. That's why this issue reportedly leaves almost no easy solution for anyone involved. Every possible outcome carries political consequences, financial consequences, and reputation risks for both Harry and the monarchy itself. At the same time, the legal battle has reportedly started affecting public perception of the royal family too. Even though courts focus on technical legal details, the public usually sees the story emotionally. People start debating fairness, privilege, loyalty, accountability, and whether Harry still truly belongs inside the royal structure at all. And as this standoff continues unfolding both publicly and privately, it's slowly feeding into an even bigger question: whether the entire royal narrative is quietly changing forever on both sides of the Atlantic. Because now another issue has become impossible to ignore: the declining popularity of Harry and Meghan. According to long-term polling and media analysis, public opinion surrounding the couple has shifted dramatically over time. What once looked like overwhelming global support and curiosity has gradually turned into a far more divided and critical reaction. Major polling groups like YouGov have reportedly shown this trend repeatedly. Their approval ratings no longer appear stable. Instead, public support now rises and falls sharply depending on interviews, documentaries, public appearances, and controversies. There are still moments where sympathy toward the couple spikes, especially when discussions focus on their exit from royal duties or personal struggles. But analysts say those positive moments rarely last long anymore. They're often followed by another backlash after a controversial interview, documentary release, or public criticism involving the monarchy. In the UK, the decline reportedly appears much more severe. Polls often show large portions of the British public holding skeptical or negative views, especially when debates focus on royal duty, tradition, and the continued use of royal branding after stepping away from official roles. Meanwhile, the United States has shown a more mixed reaction overall. Early excitement and admiration reportedly softened over time, replaced by more cautious and divided opinions, instead of the massive support they once enjoyed. Analysts say the biggest issue now isn't just fluctuation, it's slow erosion. Critics argue Harry and Meghan's public image no longer gains strength from visibility the way it once did. Instead, every new appearance often seems to deepen existing divisions instead of rebuilding widespread approval. That creates a situation where public attention doesn't automatically equal public support anymore. And as favorability continues slipping across both the UK and the US, many royal watchers believe this may eventually influence private decisions happening behind palace doors too. Because if public trust keeps weakening, does that eventually affect who remains closely connected to royal tradition and who quietly drifts further away from it? That question leads directly back to one of the most emotional symbols in the entire royal system: Sandringham. Sandringham House is far more than just another royal property. For generations, it has represented one of the most private and deeply personal spaces connected to the British monarchy. Unlike formal palaces tied heavily to state business, Sandringham has always carried the image of family, tradition, and continuity. To the public, it represents the rare side of royal life where official duties fade into personal connection. And nowhere is that symbolism stronger than during the royal family's annual Christmas gatherings. For decades, Sandringham has been viewed as the place where the monarchy temporarily steps away from cameras, political pressure, and official ceremonies to spend time together as a family. That's why exclusion from Sandringham carries such massive emotional weight. It's not just missing an invitation to a house. It symbolizes distance from the inner circle itself. It becomes a public sign of emotional separation, weakened trust, and shifting family dynamics. Within royal culture, Sandringham quietly represents belonging. Being included there suggests closeness to the heart of the monarchy. Being absent from it can send the opposite message entirely. Suddenly, the issue stops being about geography and starts becoming about identity within the royal structure. And that's exactly why discussions around Sandringham create such intense reactions online and inside palace circles. Because at the end of the day, Sandringham is not simply a property, it's a symbol of who remains connected to the family at its core, and who may now be standing further away from it than ever before. The royal drama surrounding Harry and Meghan keeps getting more intense, and every new development seems to reveal even deeper tension behind palace walls. If the pressure keeps building like this, the monarchy could soon face one of its biggest turning points in years.